Good morning to some, good afternoon to some, good evening to some. My name is Safina, and as promised, today we are going to have a live demo on Applitools with Nikhil. I hope I pronounce your name perfectly, not well, perfectly. Okay, just to boost my confidence. And today, Nikhil will be doing a demo on a leading e-commerce platform on how Applitools can be used across, how do I say, cross-browser web testing, and also functional UI testing with less code yet higher quality. Okay, a little bit about Nikhil. He is a senior pre-sales consultant with over 14 years of experience working for diverse sectors inside and outside of Australia. He has worked on various tools and technologies as well as various roles, ranging from a developer to an IT architect for reputed firms. Currently, he is the pre-sale for Applitools for APAC region, and he has participated in various webinars across APAC region as well. His hobbies include traveling, as you can see, from traveling across APAC, as well as socializing and learning new technologies. So I bring upon Nikhil to the live demo of Applitools. Go ahead, Nikhil.
Thank you. Thanks, Safina. So, hello everyone. I hope wherever you are finding it a good Friday so far. So, I'll share my screen and start off with talking a little bit about what the Applitools platform is first, and then followed by a demo of how we can implement it, as well as you will be able to understand how easy it should be to include visual testing. So, let me share my screen. So, as Safina introduced me, I lead the pre-sales for Applitools in Asia Pacific, and we look after mainly the Asia Pacific region. While Applitools is an organization from mainly from Israel and US, and we are the inventors of visual AI, which is using AI in visual testing. Now, just quickly establishing some credentials here, we work with a lot of different firms cutting across different domains and industries, and most of them are into some sort of a digital journey. Being everyone wants to be ahead of the game, so you would see that we are today working with probably close to 400, more than 400 brands in the world globally, and you see that we have got some big names here, and specifically in APAC region, we work with most of the banks as well as technology companies, like Atlassian is one of the customers. So the underlying common denominator here for each one of them is automation and how they want to improve their automation. And in the last few years, we have seen a very rapid adoption of visual testing in the mainstream of end-to-end testing. Now, if is for those who are not well aware of visual testing, it's probably falls under the same end-to-end testing approach, but it has a different, it is a little slightly different approach than what we have been used to doing in the end-to-end testing, and it ensures that you have a much wider, coverage for your applications from a user experience point of view, right? So quickly talking about the Applitools platform, we have four parts of this platform, in fact, five. So the first one being the AI, which is again our core engine and the proprietary technology that we have developed. Here, the AI is basically emulating the human eye or the naked human eye, which meaning it looks at the user interfaces the way a human would do, and it will only find relevant differences, not false positives. And that's one of the core differentiators that we have. It's a very highly accurate and reliable AI, which has been trained over the past 9 years of inception. And then the AI itself does the whole testing and provides the feedback, right? So AI emulates the human eye. It doesn't have any false positives. It's highly accurate. So the second part of this platform is the SDKs. Now, some of you may have already been into automation for a long time, and they must have used different approaches, different frameworks open source frameworks, some may have chosen certain tools in the market. So whatever be the approach, we decided that we don't want you to redo everything, right? So for including visual testing in your existing functional test, you could use one of our SDKs. Basically, like for example, the way I'll show you is a Selenium example here, where you will include the Selenium SDK for Applitools, and then you will just simply have the visual testing triggered on. Now, doing this, we have simplified further so that you don't have to spend a lot of effort in doing the visual or writing the code itself. So we have minimized the code level, but at the same time, we have also enabled different types of platforms through the same AI. So AI being technology agnostic, we have tried to bind it with whether it's a web platform, web testing, or it's a mobile testing, or there is a PDF testing. Even images can be tested, or if you have a codeless sort of a approach, we can even integrate with those codeless frameworks that you may have, right? So in a sense, the SDKs allow you to integrate your existing frameworks and technologies with the AI, and in a very seamless way. Now, the third piece here is the integration. Now, any tool today in the market is only successful when it can work with a range of different tools, other tools, and technologies as well. So, we basically take pride in that we have developed such a platform which can integrate with any CI/CD tool in the market, for example, Azure, GitHub, Bitbucket, and others. Also, it can integrate with things like Jira, as well as a communication platform like Slack. So we could integrate all of this right from the API tools and in an easy way. And the fourth part of this is the ultra fast grid. Now, some of you may have been doing cross browser testing, and it has essentially been an important part, important piece of the puzzle in automation. And different teams have tried different ways. Again, some may have tried going to various devices, some may have set up their own Selenium grid, and so forth. But what we have seen is that there's a lot of complexity involved when you try to approach cross-browser testing and automation together. And we have tried to simplify and seamlessly integrate that into our platform, which means not only you are doing visual testing of your platform, but you're doing the cross-browser testing of your application on the same platform as well. So visual testing and cross-browser testing together, achieving that, you will, and probably in the fastest time possible, will help you to accelerate your whole development and fasten your testing and having a more quality release, right? Now, fifth part also is there, although some of the organizations may be using it and some of the organization may not, and that's called accessibility. Now, we are an AI based platform, hence it's really advanced. And what it does is it knows different aspects of your user interface. By that, what we have, we are in a position of actually testing your application for accessibility as well. But because we are a visual testing platform, so we are limited to visual side of accessibility. So out of the box, we can actually do contrast testing of your application, and we call it as contrast advisor. Now, the reason being that we are not only able to test for contrast, we can also suggest what is the actual fix required to fix it for the accessibility guidelines. So that's a platform in the nutshell, and that basically is a, again, you can call it a high level design of the platform, but we'll go into the details of, again, what are the how to do the visual testing, as well as the other bits, just in a moment. So if we talk before we go there, I believe some of you coming from the engineering backgrounds must have faced these sort of issues which are highlighted on the screen, or some of or all of these issues. So I believe nearly everyone would agree that the test creation effort is quite significant in terms of automation, and it takes a lot of effort to even write the code and maintain it, let aside the skill required to create the automation in the first place. And then further up, if you have a dynamic application which is going to be updated very quickly, or has to be released very fast, you would also require to maintain that automation, because otherwise the automation itself will fail, right? So everyone nearly would be trying to invest into maintenance effort, and we've seen that effort is also quite significant, uh, as per the market again knowledge we have gained, and put together these two things and into a continuous integration or continuous deployments pipeline, and you would increasingly see that there are a lot of builds that are failing just because either the test scripts are not right, or they are there's a something has been missed, and there is a continuous requirement to keep updating the automation, which requires effort, right? Now, if I just multiply this by 5 times, let's say I want to test it with browsers and devices alike, I believe this will further complicate the matters. So, in a nutshell, uh, we have seen there have been fundamental problems with automation and the approach that has been used towards automation, and we feel that the AI is a solution towards it. And if we talk about what does the AI do, so first of all, we minimize the code. So one of the problems is to be able to write a lot of code and to be able to test the application. Now we have seen in like most of the uh, teams or applications that have been automated, they are nearly 20, 30%, 40% covering your user interface. But here we are talking about 100% coverage of your user interfaces, and with minimal line of code. So when I say minimal, it's just one line of code. Now hopefully that will solve the problem of writing too much lines of code, and should minimize the effort in the end as well. Now, again, because we have taken a approach where we are minimizing the code through our own SDKs, we have further reduced the maintenance cost, because you don't need to rewrite a lot of, or maintain a lot of code. Now, again, our research from the existing as well as, different events that we do globally, we have found and concluded that using the AI, the visual AI in your testing, will actually stabilize your code by at least 4 times, and make it more reliable, right? And that's what is one of the key goals of automation. We don't want an automation which needs to be constantly updated and worried about, rather something which is more reliable and more robust, right? So if you put again these two things together, you would see that there is a more faster deployment as well as more reliable automation running in the backend, and that should ensure that you are able to test your application in a shorter span of time with increased quality. And again, this is what where the ROI lies. You have to spend a lot less time in being able to do the regression testing or doing the testing, and to be able to get more quality output from the testing, which is the end goal. So with that knowledge, I believe I'll rather try to go into the some sort of a code, and again we'll try to simplify as far as much as we can, and so that there is no obviously confusion. But feel free to ask any questions. So if I just simply go to one of the codes now, what I have on my screen is, again, I took up Lazada as one of the sample sites that I wanted to show. And in case of Applitools, as I said, we can integrate with a number of different frameworks. Now, I would really encourage everyone to head off to applitools.com/tutorials, where you can find all the different open source frameworks that we support. We also do support some other tools, and you can be in touch for your particular use case with us, and we can help you understand how to solve that problem. But in a sense, we have got a very good integration along with most of the major technologies around for testing, and not only web but mobile, as well as things like PDF or codeless testing can also be done, right? So moving back to my test, this is a Selenium test. I hope some of you are familiar with it. If not, I'll try to again make it simple for you. So as I said, first of all, you need to include the Applitools Eyes SDK. Now here I've included that from the Maven. This is a Maven build. Again, Maven is a specific type of under a compiler that we are using. In case of Java, Selenium, you can use some other technologies as well. The key thing here is that you have to use the appropriate or the corresponding SDK that for Applitools with respect to your own framework. Now, apart from that, if we look at the test, what I've done is I have tried to navigate to Lazada help center site, and then we are trying to, as we navigate, uh, usually you would be doing certain assertions, right? So you would be saying check for this button, check for text, check for different things on the user interface, which will be a combination of a UI or a functionality, or would be some sort of a display buttons, etc., that needs to be clicked, right? So what are we doing here is, first of all, we are including eyes is the name of Applitools SDK, and then further up we are opening the connection with the server. That's the simple part. You are just opening the Applitools connection, and a connection is automatically done through the SDKs when you say eyes.open. Now, the next thing is, as we want to validate the entire page of the help center, we will just invoke a command called eyes.check. Now, this eyes.check is a single line of command which can actually take a full page screenshot of your application and send it off to the AI, right? Now, further up, we could have other flows. For example, I could navigate to another page like I've done here, or I could basically click a button, or I could, provide certain inputs to the certain fields and click on a button, and so forth. Now, for simplicity, I just basically, went to for page one. I took a full page screenshot through the eyes.check, and then on the second page, again, I navigated and took another, couple of screenshots here. Now, the first is again a full page screenshot, but the second one is I'm not taking a full page screenshot. Instead, I am taking a region of the page, probably doing the component, looking at a particular component on the page. So, what I'm trying to emphasize here is that the SDKs have that level of, it has the flexibility of taking a page versus a component on the page as well. So, whatever is your choice, you can do that. Now, the last thing here is eyes.close async. Now, this is mainly to say to Applitools that the test is finished and we are ready for the results to be published. And that's it. You see, our test has been completed for two different pages, or two different pages on your website or application, under maybe 7 or 8 lines, right? Now, I hope for those who have this experience with Selenium would agree that this is quite, short. I mean, we have concised this to a very good level, like only 7 or 8 lines of code that you need to maintain in the end. And further up, now your test is already ready to run. And once you run it in your local, we should be able to send it everything to the AI, and the AI does the testing and send you back, right? Now, I also suggested that we can do not do the visual testing only. We can also do cross-browser testing along with it, and we made it very simple with Applitools. All you need to do is, within your test, you have a configuration object, and you can define all the environments that you want to run your test on. Now, if you notice, I've included almost 50 plus devices and browsers into my test, which means not only I'm going to test it on a Chrome, I'll test it on Safari, on i11, on Firefox, and others, right? So this is a grid that we maintain, or again on the cloud, and just merely by providing the environment, your same test will be automatically running on all other environments, and we'll take care of it. So without you having to worry about the underlying complexity or running or connecting different things, your same test you're running in your machine. And once your test is completed, we should be able to replicate on all these environments that we have suggested. Now, if you notice here, I have also included Pixel and iPads and other devices and browsers as well. So in a nutshell, this is my test and this is my configuration to say where I want to run this test on, right? So combining these two things, I should be able to run the test. Now, once we run this test, let's say we'll basically end up into, once you have an account with us or a license with us, you will have something called as the Applitools Test Manager, or the dashboard, whichever name you prefer, and you will end up in the test results page. Now, the test results page is the single page where you will get all the test results for different apps, and all the tests that you're running, right? First thing here, as you land into the page, you will see that we have got different parts, again, test results, and app and test, and other sections. Now these are some other things that we can do. For example, we do support branching as well in Applitools, and that can be done through the various integration that we have. We also have analytics running, and we'll come to it just in a bit. But first thing, when I ran that test that you just saw on my screen, uh, it will create the first instance of it. And if you would have noticed in my code and compared to your previous knowledge, you would think that we are not asserting anything there, right? We are not saying that, okay, what are we expecting in the end? So we are just saying eyes.check. What does eyes.check mean? So basically, it's an open-ended assertion where we are saying to the AI that test everything about this app at this point of time. So when I landed to the lazada.com help center page, I'm going to test everything on the help center page instead of just checking for few things. Now, this has twofold benefits. One is that you are covering for everything, which means you are covering 100% of it, which also means you are testing for the unknowns. And the second is you don't have to write that many lines of code to even include the 100%. And also we can further say that within the same line of code, within the same test, you can actually test for colors, the contrast, the content, the component, and the rendering and the positioning or layout as well. So all combined, AI can test for everything in one shot, right, using just one single line of command. But for AI to do the same, it needs a reference point, and we call this a baseline in our world. So a baseline is merely a reference point that we create for the app. And in this case, I'm trying to just shorten my, just in the interest of time, I'm showing that when we run the test for the first time, it automatically assumes the first instance to be a baseline, right? Now, what it means as a baseline, that it is a reference point for you, so you just review it, and if you think that is not right, then you can simply overwrite it as well. So we do give that flexibility. But in this case, I have taken a baseline and it looks to be correct for the Lazada, and you see, as you can see, we can scroll and take the entire page into this. But there were some other eyes.checks that I included, and I can include any number of them. So you see that the second page is also captured for this website. Again, a full page. And in the third, as I said, we can even take a component on the page. So not just the whole page. I can take only a section that need to be tested as part of my test. So we have captured that successfully. And we have further established baselines into all these different environments that we have run. So, for example, if I open an iPhone X, you will notice that it has got a different, or maybe let's say I open an iPad 2, or just a second, I will open, yeah, maybe this one. So if you notice here that we can show you how does the app looks on an iPad Pro, and as well as our different pages can appear on these different devices automatically. So the grid is doing this for you. What it means is that you're not running the test those many times, not 50 times. You're running it once, and we are able to do it on all 54 devices for you, right? And the AI automatically manages these baselines as well. So it will basically create the baselines, and it will also test upon it in the new runs, right? So let's say if I'm running this test again and again on my, on a different environment other than production. So because I have got my baselines set up, now when I run the test, the AI does find some issues. Now you notice it is saying unresolved here, which means the AI has picked up certain differences that it is thinking is kind of an issue. Uh, at this point, however, you may have two options. One is that there is a new feature, which means something has changed in your app which is quite relevant. There is a new feature being included, or there could be a second option where that there is a bug which is being picked up by the AI. So let's look at how does the AI does the testing. Okay. So the first thing here is I'm opening the Lazada site. Now I have set up a baseline for myself on this for this app, and as you notice that if I click on this radar button, it is showing us all these differences that have been picked up, right? Now this is the most recent version of the app, and if you think that this is the changes are as expected, all you can do is simply click on the thumbs up and it will update the baseline in the AI. What it means is from the next run as well as this run, it will only compare with the new baseline instead of the old baseline. And and further you have that yes, there have been approval around, yes, this is my new page looking like. But in this case, we have certain changes and the AI is only picking up the relevant ones. For example, there is a whole logo missing. Then there is a content change here. So where is my order versus where is my package? And there is a question mark even which is missing. So you see that it is only pointing or highlighting only the relevant things and not everything that you have to review and whatever has changed, right? So the content, the displacements, the positioning and the element UI rendering itself, everything is tested in one go. Now we call this as the strict form of comparison, meaning everything compared like for like, which includes the colors, by the way. But we can also, obviously there are other websites as well, which have got a lot of dynamic content. For example, this retail website, right, Lazada, which will have a lot of different components. I mean, a lot of different items being displayed, and they will keep on changing. Now, it doesn't make a lot of sense to test everything like for like here, because these are catalogs and they can change, right? So you can have another level of algorithm that you can use, or different algorithm that you can use, called layout. And the layout level basically allows you to test for dynamic things. For example, if the catalog is changing, it is not highlighting that there are different materials or etc. But see, if this section being disappeared, it is highlighting that. So what we mean by layout is that we are testing for only only the positioning and the structure of the page, but we ignore the colors as well as the content. So if there is a ABC versus DEF, it is not going to compare for it, right? And similarly, we have got, we can take a component of the page and test it for different algorithms. So as you can see that you can use different algorithms on different pages as per your needs, and this should allow you to test most dynamic pages as well. We have seen with most complex applications. In fact, some of the gaming companies also tried using Applitools in the past, and they have used that for their interfaces. So we see a lot of usage of these different algorithms, and we allow that to be configured by the user, whatever they want to choose. Now, interestingly, we also have something in addition to this, which is, for example, what we call as the root cause analysis. Now, a lot of times the developers are scratching their heads just because they can't figure out what is the problem, or they will take a lot of time to actually figure out the problem, underlying problem, with a certain bug. So you could use root cause analysis here, and the AI will be able to reverse engineer into your application and look at the change and tell you why a particular difference exists, right? What is meaning is they should be able to look at the CSS and tell that, okay, this is what has gone broken and should be able to fix faster. Now this faster feedback obviously means that your development will be much faster and your whole release cycle will be also faster, right? So this is a feature that can be used by the developers. Now we do have other use cases that can be done through the AI, but again, in the interest of time, we'll only cover a few. I'll show you some. I'll talk about some of the use cases just in a moment. But with respect to algorithms itself and the testing that the AI does, while it is accurate, it also is more flexible. Now, you want the AI to learn more about your pages, right? So let's say I don't want to compare a certain section of the page. Let's say I don't want to compare this section of the page in my test. I can simply draw an ignore region here, and upon drawing, the AI will remember this rule, and from the current and the next run, it will not test this section anymore. So this helps the AI to, I mean, for you to streamline and focus on only the relevant sections of your test, right, on your page. So you can ignore a section, while in, let's say, this section I can run a different algorithm even. So I can go and just draw a layout region right away here. And once I draw it, it will ignore the content differences, but it will obviously check for the structure of this section. So imagine if there is a catalog, you can simply run a piece, a component in that on a different algorithm as well. So we do have an ability to run multiple algorithms at the same time. Apart from this, you can obviously do commenting. So this is also, that tool also has a feature of collaboration. So your designers and developers can come, and testers can come alike, and just say, uh, comment on particular sections in a particular release, or wherever you are running, whatever sprint you are running, and can discuss about it as you are developing your app. But the other also thing is that we can integrate with things like Jira. So some of you may be familiar with Jira, which is a defect management platform, and we can integrate directly with Jira, where we can actually create a bug directly from this dashboard into Jira. So if you notice here, all the different details are logged into the Jira now, and automatically, and you will have a ticket number which you can associate with the test, and further up track this test as the next run happens. So how many defects have been raised in a particular run, for example, and track it further, right? So in a nutshell, we are able to test for an app within our complete flow, visually, which means 100%. But also we can scale the testing up and down as we want, by including more environments, or lessening the environments just in a by a matter of few lines, right? And that's what the power of AI combined with cross browser testing provides you, to run these things very fast, and should be able to cover you very quickly, right? Now, apart from this one, now this is a scenario of web testing along with cross-browser testing that I showed you right now. But we can also cover for some other use cases. For example, the localization testing. Now, in the case of localization testing, I'm running a test with respect to, again, I have taken lazada.com, and then here I have compared the site, first of all, in the English word to English comparison, and then I have further done a comparison with the English to Malaysian language comparison as well. And you can do kind of a localization testing in that sense, where you are running a website in different different languages, and trying to test whether my layout in all of them is correct or not. Now, we have seen there are global companies these days, and they are all in different regions. So it is a good way of, a good use case for most of them, where they can just test the application is being correctly rendered in different locales and languages, right? So this is the localization test that you can run. Again, it's a different use case. And the third one that I want to show you is a codeless approach. Now, for doing codeless, I'm today presenting you Selenium IDE. Selenium IDE is a codeless extension. You can add it on on your Chrome browser, and as an extension. And to run this with Applitools, you require Applitools for Selenium IDE extension. Again, all of these are present in the tutorial. So you simply click on this, and it will go take you through the entire tutorial with an example that you can run on your side as well. So please feel free to go to this website and test out whatever tool or framework you're comfortable with, and you can get an example project to run right away. Okay. Now, coming back to the test, I will open a Selenium IDE, as which is a record and playback extension. I will open an existing project which I've already run. Now, in case of here, I have already prepared a Synapse, a record playback test, as you can see, and where again it has recorded automatically what page I'm visiting, and also having the ice check included, which is to take the screenshot at that point of time. Now, to run it on multiple devices and browsers is also included as part of the configuration. Now, when we run this test on just over the browser, it will basically create, again, first of all, I've created a baseline, because, again, I've put it as a different application. So I'm visiting a different page, by the way, here, a shopping and delivery page, a shipping and delivery page, as well as there is a, the main page, the help center page that we were visiting before. Now, when you are doing the testing, running these codeless scripts, the record and playback scripts in different environments or wherever you have to do the testing, it should be able to cover for what has changed in the application, right? And as you can see, that it is highlighting different aspects of changes that have happened, or whatever has been missed, and it is only pointing the relevant ones. So the key thing here is the AI is doesn't have any false positives and give you the highest quality of testing. And further up, you can even make your AI learn more about your pages, where you can add things like ignore sections and not test for those sections in ongoing tests, and so forth. One more thing is that while you can create these rules just on the dashboard, you can do the same from the code as well, no matter which framework. And they are only one time activity as well. So if you don't want to, it's not like every time you have to create these rules. Once they are created, they are staying with the AI, and it will automatically be applied. So you don't have to worry about the keeping maintenance of these rules all the time, or keep adding all these rules again and again. So hopefully, through this a short demo today, you must have understood how the visual testing can be incorporated, again, through a codeless approach or a codeful approach. And again, we tried with the web testing, but equally alike, we can try with some other use cases as well. One of the other features that we have is called Insights. Now we are running analytics on this platform, where you can obviously get a report of how your tests are performing, how much tests you have written over the past, or running over the past months, and which are the browsers and devices they are failing or passing more, which will give you a very overarching view of that which environments are more problematic. For example, some of the applications might not be working on IE properly or Safari properly, and we get concerned about them. So in a way, you can get idea of what how the applications are running in a particular environment, and which are more fragile apps as well. So for example, if you see that how many tests are passing when every time I'm deploying, so this is a good report that you can even share with the management and give them a more holistic view, rather than a detailed view, and something that is we have found useful for in the past. Now we do support things like branching and other things, and if you're interested, please feel free to get in touch with us and with your specific use case and specific problem, or how you are already approaching automation, and we can explore together how visual testing can be embedded or complemented with your existing test, right? So no matter what approach you are taking, we have done this with a lot of customers across the globe already, so we should be able to give you our expert advice on how to do that. Now the last thing here, I'll come back to my slide, is um, just about different use cases. Now, while I showed you something about the web testing and visual testing. Obviously, functional testing from a user interface point of view is also can be caught. For example, if a message or validation message should have been shown, the user is not valid, and if it is not shown, then it's a functional bug. So you can catch things like these, or anything which is happening on the user interface. Along with it, we can do things like mobile testing. Codeless testing is another type of a use case. Accessibility testing as well. And then we are seeing developers using Storybook for testing their components, and we do support Storybook testing for the React apps. The PDF is another special use case, which is being for those organizations who are into PDF testing. We have a fully automated solution. If you're interested, again, we can have a proper another meeting where we can showcase how it can be done with Applitools. And we have seen a number of organizations who are doing compliance and migration sort of projects, and they have been using Applitools to validate their entire websites as well. So as you can see, we are actually being able to cover a lot of use cases which are applicable in the end-to-end testing, and that's what makes us so adoptable and so easy to again that's why we have seen a massive adoption across the board for Applitools. So that's mainly from my side. Or back to you, Safina. Do we have any questions?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Nikhil. So we don't have any, Nikhil, we don't have any question yet so far,
Mhm.
but I think I've come across a few questions. So every time I try to come up with a question, there's always an answer on the next slide. So I was like, okay. So it's like, what I'm trying to say is that your presentation is almost as good as like you have tackled all the basic concern that most people like me that a first-hand user listening to your Applitools live demo. So you have addressed it well in the content. So I give you 100% on that. So I couldn't give more because I think 100% is the perfect number. And also I think I will still try to ask a question because I still have this curiosity about if let's say a team or a company is about to explore the possibility of introducing new tools to the team or the company, but they have concern about the ROI and what can the tools bring later on. But before they come into that figures, cost and dollar and cents, they still want to be able to have a chance to explore and do some POC, proof of concept, to at least table that result to the management. So if let's say imagine we were to introduce Applitools to the management and we were saying that we want to do some POC, just the
Yes.
basic one.
Yeah.
So what would be your tips for us to really introduce and bring Applitools to the management so that we can at least have to self pitch about the tools to the management and eventually try it out as a POC? What would be your tips on that?
That's a really great question and a very wide, broad question as well. I'll try to answer that in my best capability, but uh, pardon me if I have missed certain aspects of it. But I'll try to answer. Now, we are talking about an automation practice, which is the goal of that automation is to be able to do three things. One is to be able to deliver test faster. The second is to be able to do it at a higher quality. Otherwise, the manual testers are better off, right? So we want to run an automation for an existing piece where you want to show that there's a benefit of running an automation because we are doing some repetitive things and we should be able to do it as faster so that we know that what has been released, right? So depending on again the time effort that is to be done involved in setting up these things. Again, there is a ROI which can be calculated because you are giving X number of man hours today, and by including a tool, if you go by X by 5 number of hours, that's a win. That's a number of hours that you have gained, right? And that is not just one time gain, because you will be running this automation maybe 5 times a day, or maybe 5 times a week, whatever your approach is, or whatever is a strategy. But you will be gaining some more in small numbers or big numbers. You will be gaining some overall advantage of running an automation. Now, the core thing to that automation is to be able to do two things. One is to be very, very accurate in what you are testing. The second is to be covering the application most, right? Now, visual testing as an approach is a wider approach. As you saw, I could test the entire page in one test, right? Now, that compared to testing every small bits and pieces is obviously a time taking effort, and then doing the cross browser testing. So if you're able to show to the management that by incorporating an approach of visual testing, so visual testing is not a tool, it's an approach in automation testing, right? Applitools are AI based visual testing tool. So you are using AI, which is of highest quality. You are using visual testing, which is again an approach to improve your whole quality practice. You show that yes, by incorporating such a tool, you are reducing the manual effort on one hand, but also increasing the quality without compromising time. And that thing, I believe, is key for any software development practice, because everyone wants things to happen more faster and accurately at the same time.
Yeah,
Is
I
that
like how you pick the right words to, really represent the whole context. So yeah, I think there's a lot for me to learn from you. Okay, there's one question from the crowd. I'm going to flash this on the screen. The question is from Ramona. Can Applitools be integrated into Azure DevOps?
Yes, 100%. We can integrate, as I showed you in the first slide, we can integrate with all other DevOps tools. So again, we have been increasing that space as well as new tools are picking up in this space. But GitHub, Jenkins, Bitbucket, Azure DevOps, Octopus, there are TeamCity. We can integrate with all these DevOps tools right now.
Okay, all right. Yeah, now I have another question that is echoing what Ramona just asked. I was just wondering because of there's a lot of integration that Applitools supports. I was just thinking, let's say now Applitools is supporting the integration to Jira and Slack, for instance. So do you have like just a high level numbers of which are the top three or the favorite integration points that Applitools has at the moment? So at least we know that someone wants to integrate to Jira, but someone wants to just integrate it to Slack. But they do not know Slack and Jira is in the top three of the mostly used integration point. Do you have some numbers on that?
Yeah, so these all tools fall in the DevOps categories, by the way, right? So Slack is a communication channel where you
Yeah.
can even communicate to a team, or you can create a channel for a particular thing. So it's a different category. Again, Jira is a defect management tool, so you are tracking bugs there and communicating from developers to testers and to other team members, right?
Yeah.
So but while the Bitbucket and the GitHub are more of a code repositories or the SCMs, and today these days they are also integrated with the CI as well. So they are more of a CI/CD. Now, what I'm saying here is today the platform is able to integrate with all three. So let's say in a perfect scenario, you have a CI/CD running, so your code gets checked in, it gets continuously built. There is a continuous build process. It is being deployed to a particular environment where automation is running, right? So when your automation runs, it runs into Applitools automatically from GitHub or Jenkins as an example, or Azure DevOps, right? And then at the time when we get back some results, somebody will be having to review the results in terms if there is a difference picked up. So you take a decision whether to go ahead with that release or not go ahead with the release, right? Now, you could actually integrate that whole testing with Slack, for example. So when the build happens, there is a message popping up into a team saying that the build has failed, by the way. Can you look at these test results? And further up, when somebody is analyzing these results, they could say that no, this is a completely broken build or a wrong thing has been developed. So these are the bugs that I'm raising into Jira, and I can fix it to a particular test release. Now, by doing that, you first of all have an audit history of everything. So what was built, what was raised, and what was failure, right? And also along the way, you are tracking how the application is developing. So most of the teams these days are developing in an agile mode. So which means they are constantly adding more features to the sprint. And so they can also use the tool in a very creative way by doing a retrospective for the retrospective meetings, right? Isn't it? So yes, so they can combine these three. Now the top things that you said, as you asked me, I think more of it is around SCM integration, and the Jira is the main defect management tool. Our roadmap is to integrate with any defect management tool in the coming time. So no matter which is small or big, we are trying to make a release where it can integrate with anything.
Right, right. So I think how you relate the usage is like within between Applitools to Jira and also to Slack. So you are putting everything in a very holistic manner. I
Correct.
did capture the word that you mentioned before in the previous slide, so I can agree on that. Like because now it looks like Apito is like very flexible in terms of integrating to various tools,
Correct.
and I believe that because you are powered with AI, so this is like what we call as the future of testing, and this is where the trend is going. Okay,
That's correct.
and yeah, and one more, one last question, because you were using Lazada as an example, and especially in Malaysia, Lazada, Shopee, and few other brands are quite popular. So I was wondering, this is like not a golden question. I'm just wondering, how big is the Applitool market in Malaysia? How many enterprise or companies has actually been using this, especially in Malaysia?
So, while we have been trying to expand in the Asia Pacific, as I said, I head the lead the pre-sales here for Asia Pacific. We have been trying to gain more customers and we have seen a lot of interest from different organizations again with different countries. Uh, Mainly, our presence is strong in Australia, New Zealand, and the Asia, the Singapore market very well. We have got few customers, smallish customers in Malaysia at the moment, and even in Japan as well, and Hong Kong as well. But these are again growing as they are trying to adopt the visual testing into their main practice. So initially, when this came out few years ago, people were not very, they were still following the more traditional approach. And then now people have, the teams have understood that there is a value in doing the visual testing, so they are trying to adapt it more and more, and we are seeing a lot of, again, that's why our integration is the best part, because we can integrate with codeless tools. No matter which other tool you're using, if you come to us, I should be able to give you a solution. So that's all I can say, and hopefully some of the people will come to us, and we'll definitely try to address everything, that all the concerns they have.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I feel good hearing that. At least we know that we have few neighboring countries like Japan, Hong Kong, and Singapore is using it. So we will see how far we can, how many companies in Malaysia will be more, willing to try out this tool, because I know there's a lot of benefit from, having, not to say trendy, I would say a tool that is following the trend, so that it can help to support your business better. Yeah.
That's
Okay. Any last word from you, and maybe your hope for the audience, or for your future prospect on whether they want, how their interest to use Applitools. Any hope from you?
So, first of all, thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk today from your platform. Again, I've been doing talks across Asia Pacific, as I said, in various forums, and this was a really good opportunity. I really liked this interface, and it was fairly easy to use for me. Otherwise, normally in the demos, there is a kind of a lag, or something goes wrong, and then you sort of breaks the pitch or whatever you're trying to convey to the audience. uh, I may have been a little bit fast, and if I was, please accept my apologies. However, I promise that if you try to just simply drop an email to me for your particular organization, again, I'll share my screen here. Um, so, uh, hopefully you're able to see this. Yeah, that's my, you can connect with me on LinkedIn or over the email, as well as that's my phone number. So if you want to message me as well, so we will be able to help you for your use case, and talk with respect to the challenges here that your organization is facing. And believe me, we have worked with very large enterprises, as well as the medium and small enterprises equally, and we support all of them. Our whole team is working from Australia mainly, and we support the entire region. So we are very well connected and available at in the right time zones. So whatever is your use case, I should be able to give you at least an approach or a solution of how it can be done through visual testing, or if it can be solved or not solved. So you are just a discussion away for this. Apart from that, what I really want to emphasize is that visual testing has been gaining traction. So no matter which, even if you are at a early stage of automation or at an advanced stage, you must have come across this need of having a more more unified approach of doing this testing, with which will give ROI and also be more stable in the end. So we have seen that visual testing does helps in that space, but we are still an end-to-end testing tool. We are not an API testing tool. So if you have a strategy, or you're trying to formulate a strategy around your testing, why not start at a at a setting up the right fundamentals, which will help you growing it up at the later stage as well. So again, this is something that we I can only advise from my professional knowledge and the years of experience that I have in this field. So by incorporating visual testing as well as setting the right frameworks, you will be setting up your own whole organization into a direction where you will have much faster and robust and a quality based testing for your app, which will again give the whole ROI. It's not just one thing in the ROI, it's a combination of multiple things. So I
Right.
think that's my advice.
All right. Thank you so much, Nikhil. I hope we can have you back again some other times in the future with more features and more sharing about Applitools. Yeah, that's it about Applitools live demo by Nikhil Ligam. And I will switch over to remind everyone who has actually participated in Super Eats. We are happy to announce that we have finalized the 12 articles that we are going to review tomorrow. So stay tuned and follow Synapse on social media. We are available on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and also I forgot what's that one, Twitter. Yes, we are on all four channels. So stay tuned for the big reviews tomorrow on the top 12 articles for Super Reads. That's all for today. Thank you and see you again. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.